So Wasteland 3 is a tactical turn-based RPG game developed by In Exile Entertainment and sequel to Wasteland 2. It's playable in PC, PS4, and Xbox One. It's a tactical RPG game, so think games like XCOM games, Divinity Original Sin games, and the game takes place after the events of Wasteland 2, where your base got destroyed as the result of defeating the enemy. The patriarch, someone who claims to own Colorado, reaches out to the Desert Rangers and offered help to rebuild in return to helping him keep stability in Colorado. Along the way, something went terribly wrong where you got ambushed by an unknown group and most of the Desert Rangers died. You will be controlling two of the few surviving Desert Rangers where you will have to rebuild and thread your way across a dangerous frozen wasteland filled with groups like cannibals, AIs, monsters, and etc. So this is more of a tactical game that's also an RPG rather than an RPG that's also a tactical game, if that makes sense. You're going to create your own characters, but they are replaceable. You'll also get to meet companions along the way, but don't expect too much from them. They all have good design, at least an interesting background. But if you're expecting like Dragon Age Origins, Baldur's Gate, or newer games like Pillars of Eternity, or even tactical games like Divinity Original Sin 2, some companions have quests related to them, but for the most part, they are just there to fill in the party. But hey, that's why I said that this is more of a tactical game than an RPG, right? So like most games, you have four difficulty settings to choose from. That's basically Rookie as the easiest, you have the Wastelander, Ranger, and Supreme Jerk as the most difficult one. If you're really new to the game, or if you're new to games like this, maybe you can select normal. And if you have some kind of experience with tactical games, then I would suggest that you just go ahead and select the Ranger difficulty, which is a step higher than the normal difficulty. So yeah, just because if you have some kind of any experience in games like this, the normal difficulty might be too easy for you. So just go ahead and select that one step higher difficulty from the normal, and then after that you can create your own characters. Yeah, you can create or you can select pre-made ones. As you can see, they all have their skills, they all have their background, but just go ahead and create your characters simply because they don't really affect the story. Selecting these pre-made characters doesn't really do anything to the story at all. So create your character so that you can really customize it how you want to play the game. So when it comes to the character creation of this game, I would say it's good for a game like this. Of course, this is not a game where you play like too close, where the view is too close to the character. Of course, it's always going to be a top-down view, and the characters are kind of small, so you won't be focusing on their faces. But still, it's still great that you have a lot of ways to customize the characters. So yeah, you can change the name. You can manually type a name here, or you can randomize it. You can select the gender. You can select the voice. Yes, you can see if you choose a male, you can use a feminine voice or vice versa if that's your thing. And then you select your background, which actually has an impact to the game. As you can see, they have their own stat bonuses. So, just go ahead and select a background that fits the character that you're trying to build. And then, as you can see here, we have a good amount of appearance customization. You can't really, there's no sliders here that you can use to fully customize a specific face. You just have to choose from these options. There are three pages, but if you can see it, they're just basically the same faces with just tattoos on them. But still, it has a good amount of option for you to choose from. You can change the skin color, and you can select different types of or styles of hair. Same with the voices, you can use a female's hair if you want. And yeah, if you're female, you can use a man style hairstyle, whatever you want, and then you can choose the different colors. uh, Beard, of course, you have different beards to choose from as well. You can choose your starting gear as well: helmet, jacket, and pants. And then you have your armor color. You can also change the physique. So as you can see, you can even create a hobbit here. But this doesn't do anything to the stats. It's not like you're going to be faster if you're small or stronger if you're tall. This is just for role playing. And then you have a good amount of portrait here for you to choose from. If you can't find anything here that you'd like, of course, you can always check some mods online for more options. And then after that, once you're done with the appearance, you just have to choose your starting weapon, like the starting gear, like the helmet, pants. This is just your starting weapon, so you can definitely get new weapons when you play the game. And then you have to distribute the attributes. If you're new to Wasteland, as you can see, each attribute here has a description on the side, and then the specific stats that they affect. If this is confusing for you, especially if you're new to this type of games, you can go ahead and check guides online, at least how to build your character at the start. And then from there, you can learn from experience as you level up the character. So yeah, you just have to distribute the attributes and then distribute the skills. There are 5 categories here. You have the combat skills, general skills, exploration skills, and social skills. You're going to have 6 characters in a party, so just make sure that each one of them has something they're really good at. There's no sense of building a character that can do it all, but it's not actually very good at doing those. So just select probably one combat skill, at least for your starting characters, and then one partner that probably with an exploration skill like lock picking or mechanics, whichever you like. And then you can also select to have a quirk or not. Quirks are stat bonuses and stat penalties at the same time. As you can see, if you choose the lone wolf, you have 20% initiative, but leadership abilities has no benefits on you. If you don't know what you're doing, it's basically, or it might be safer for you to choose no quirk. But if you know what you're doing, or if you're going to use a guide, at least at the start to build your character, yeah, just select a quirk that matches your playstyle. So you're going to have a party of 6, but you can have less than that. That depends on you how many would you want to bring. But you need to have at least 2 created characters. And no, you can't go with only one created character and 5 NPCs, or using all NPCs. Aside from your main party members, you can have very useful companions in battle, like animal companions and some others that you can get depending on the choices you make. Your vehicle or tank can also join in some battles, which is very effective because it can instantly kill most enemies by running through them, and it has a lot of special skills that you can use to attack multiple enemies at once. When it comes to exploration, within the settlements, you will control your characters exploring, but outside the settlements or outside towns, you have to travel the world using your vehicle only. You can't get off the vehicle, so unless you enter settlements or engage in combat, there will be random encounters as you roam around. Of course, you don't always have to fight every random encounter you experience. Some of them you can escape from given your party meets the right requirements for it. However, if you mess up for some reason your character build, where you can't avoid battles for not meeting the right requirements. The random encounters are not that many, so it shouldn't have a big impact on your game negatively. Just take note though that some encounters can be quite difficult if you're new. So it's always important to save your game as often as you can. So how's the combat of the game? It's very good. It still is very much like the first game. It is turn-based, so your turn and then the enemy's turn. And then there is also the cover system where you have to place your character behind a cover. It can be full or half cover, and that will affect the accuracy of the enemy or basically their hit chance and also the damage. So you have a number of ability points that you can use in either to attack, either to move, use items, use skills. The cost of these points vary depending on the weapon type, depending on your skills, depending on your stat. So there are multiple weapons to choose from. You can have melee weapons, you have shotguns, you have snipers, you have automatic weapons like rifles and submachine guns. You can have cannons, science weapons, grenades, and even set up sentries or decoy. Character can use most, if not all weapons, but if you don't have the skill for a certain weapon, then there are going to be significant penalties, so you won't be as effective on it. Now, aside from your normal attack, your characters will also have special skills called Strike, which you can activate in combat that are very helpful. Like it can severely damage the enemy's armor or maybe land a critical hit, or even some special attacks can severely damage multiple enemies in one shot. It is important to note that this is a game that emphasizes strength in numbers. The more companions you have, the easier the combat will get. And speaking of companions, especially not the main ones, but like the animals that you can recruit, they can be such a great tank, and some of them will just devastate your enemies. Yes, you can think of this honey badger here as the Hulk. Once these two charge the enemies, it's just complete destruction. Deployables will be gone after a battle, but animal companions will stay until you replace them or when they die in battle. So yeah, when they die, that's permanent, but you can always find animals to recruit when you travel the world. The game is pretty fun, whatever class you select for the main characters. Building characters can be quite overwhelming for those that are new to the game, but there are a lot of guides out there that you can check on how to build your character, at least at the start. I would still suggest to go in blind if possible. I believe it's more fun that way when you have to learn everything through experience. And for some reason, if you have accidentally build a character that's not really effective in any way, there is no respec option, but you can always recreate your characters. So if you like to roleplay, you love the two characters you created at the start so much, you can just create new two characters, give them the same face, give them the same name, and then you can distribute the skills however you like. Well, I like most part of the combat. There's just one thing that I've noticed that is quite frustrating, and that is the inconsistency of the cover system or the targeting system. There are just some encounters in the game where you thought your character was well behind a wall, out of sight, but for some reason the enemy can still hit that character. And then there are times when it looks like you have a clear shot, but for some reason you are unable to target the enemy. Now, this is my experience only. I'm not sure if anyone else have this experience, but these are things that I've noticed quite a number of times. And yeah, regardless, it's still a wonderful game. It's not game breaking in any way. It can be frustrating, yes, but the game combat is still all in all pretty fun. So just real quick about what I like about the inventory system of the game. It doesn't have weight limits, so you don't have to keep going back to towns or to merchants just to unload your loot or equipment. I'm not sure how you like your RPG games. If you want those that with brutal inventory system or weight limit system where you have to keep going back to towns just to sell things. Personally, me, I don't like that. I want it to be very forgiving or having it no weight limit at all so that you can, focus adventuring. Because even if the game doesn't force you to go back to merchants, being a player that likes to collect loots, I just have to go back to merchants to sell my items. So that's me. I don't know how about you. But yeah, for this game, you don't have a capacity or a weight limit, so you can continue adventuring. However, just because the game doesn't force you to go back to towns to sell your items, you will still have the need to go back to settlements or merchants because you will definitely run out of ammo, and sometimes you also have to buy grenades or other stuff that you can use in combat. It's going to be a shared inventory, so all the party members have just one inventory, as you can see. You can either view all of the items at once, or you can click per category here, weapons, armors, and I just hope that you have more ways of sorting out these items so that you can easily find items. Because for me, there's times that I had some difficulty finding a new item that I just picked up. So yeah, all in all, it's still pretty simple enough. You can also check the character weapons. As you can see here, you just have to point on an item. You will see the stat on the side. And comparing the items is very easy, where you just have to press shift, then you can keep checking weapon in your inventory. So you also have a base that you can slowly develop over time. It's not that highly customizable, and there isn't a lot of things that you can do, but it still is a good addition to the game. Depending on the choices you make, the people that you see here are basically those from the groups that you side with. And as you can see there, you have different parts. You have a place where you can upgrade your vehicle. You have a med bay. You have your own prison where you can send a few enemies that you defeat. Aside from that, there's really not a lot of things that you can do. You're going to have, I would say, one or two battles, but not a lot happens here. So leveling up in this game is not that different compared to to other games. You basically have number of experience that you have to reach, and after that you gain a level with points. Basically, you can gain points for attributes, skills, and perks, and you just have to distribute them accordingly. I like that the game doesn't force you to spend the points. If you don't find anything that you like, you can always keep them and use them when you gain more levels or more experience. So it's really up to you. You can plan ahead. I did mention at the start that when you create your character, it can be quite confusing. But when you play the game, you slowly level them up. It gets simpler, and you can understand the process more. So yeah, there's no problem. I'm pretty confident to say that even if you're new to the game, if you just stick with the game, you'll learn this easily, and you'll basically figure out how to make the character that you want to make. The perks as well, not all perks will show, only that is applicable to your character, so that helps in a way that it's not confusing to new players. But if you really want to plan ahead, if you want to take a look at what's out there for your character, you can always click the show unavailable perks button, and you can see all the perks that the game offers. So as for the questing, you have the primary missions, you have secondary missions. I would say the quests are good. I couldn't really say that I remember quests that were a chore to do. Everything was like fluid. I'm not sure what type of a player are you, or how you usually play your games. Do you usually collect every quest out there and then do them at the same time, or do you do like one quest at a time? Because I'm the type of player where I collect all the quests first in area, and then I try to do them all at the same time, trying to enjoy a game as much as I can, but as efficient as possible. So if you have a lot of quests that that's really bad, and you do all these quests at the same time, you'll really notice that it's a chore and you'll basically lose your interest in completing the quest. Now, it is important to stress that your choices in the game matters. The game will let you experience that right away at the very start. Just a few minutes into the game, you could recruit a character that's going to be a party member, or you could lose her right away if you don't choose the right options to save her. So, like what you see in this part, if I try to talk to the enemy and I don't have the necessary stats to pass the skill checks, this enemy will shoot down the character. But if you just shoot the enemy right away from afar, where you won't have to trigger the dialogue, then that's okay too. You can actually save the character easier that way. There are going to be time quests. I would say probably one or two. I believe, yeah, if you don't do the quest, you fail it, or if you don't go to that specific place at a specific time or within that time period, then the NPCs will just, I don't know how to say it without spoiling, but things will happen even if you're not there. But 80 or 90% of the quests are not timed, so you can take your time, you can enjoy the game, you can explore the areas as much as you want to. So yeah, the quests are good. You'll have a good time. Now, I don't want to be too critical on this. As I mentioned in the start, I want to do this video review for people like me who simply wants to play the game and enjoy it. So know as much as possible. If there is no very noticeable issues, then I'm good with the game. The graphics looks good to me. Struck me as a game with good enough graphics, but not really great. Whether you're talking about character models or just basically the design of the different settlements, I feel it was good enough to make you feel that this is one of the more recent games, but not really so much that it will impress you. Um, I really appreciate though the animation and effects of the weapons and skills in combat. I don't find them too fancy like some other games, so it makes the game looks realistic, but definitely interesting. The game is especially nice to look at when you're outside the settlements, traveling with your vehicle, and you see the snow falling with all the lighting effects. As for the sound, I find the background music really nice, but a little quieter in the settlements than what I normally prefer. Maybe it's just me, but once again, when you drive outside, that is when it's really, really good. The sounds of the environment is awesome. The radio is really, really great, and you get to listen to folk songs that are very good and fun, which gives you the vibes of a post-apocalyptic time. Of course, I don't say that folk songs or classical songs equals to post-apocalyptic, but if you've played enough Fallout games, you can definitely automatically make the connection in your mind. Oh, and one last thing, the boss battle music. Yeah, you'll know when you get there. It's very interesting. Um, the voice acting in the game is well done as well. All the characters, and yeah, I say all the characters, they are really great. I can't even think of one character where I found that the voice acting was bad or even just unlikable. The weapon sounds are amazing as well, especially the flamethrowers. And here are a few samples that I would like you to check out. So one thing that I didn't like, probably the sound of some of the animal companions, or probably just one. The first thing that come to my mind is a mountain goat or the goat. It can really be quite annoying and loud sometimes. So yeah, I hope by default they've toned down this a bit. But aside from that, I really have no major complaints when it comes to the graphics or the audio of this game. So all in all, I can't really say that there's something in this game that I hate or even just I really don't like. The story is good enough to make you keep playing the game. The quests are good, and even the side quests feels like they're properly integrated to the world and everything. The graphics, although not one of the best out there, is good enough. The game gives you a great amount of character customization options, which I always appreciate, and the background music, voice acting is really done well. I wish there were more events or epic battles in your base. Even sending bad guys to your prison doesn't feel like it really does anything aside from a few reactions. And I would also be interested for more variety, like probably more settlements to visit or a more varied design. But well, it's a wasteland game, so I mean it's not known for being too colorful. Lastly, which I hope I don't offend any longtime fans, I hope you have main characters that you start with that really matters to the story. I understand that you basically play as the whole Desert Rangers and not just one or two that you start with. But hey, it's just me. That's at least my opinion. So yeah, that's all for me. Hope to see you next time.